We are less than 24 hours away from puck drop at the Four Nation Face-Off Tournament, our first international hockey event since 2016. Today we're going to do a complete tournament preview. We're going to look at the schedule, where do you see the games, who's playing at what times, take a look at all the rosters and the lineups. Now that teams have had a chance to practice, we can tell you how the lines are looking, how the power plays are looking, and how all these teams will stack up. We'll discuss the whole tournament and preview it coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, today we're doing a complete tournament preview for the Four Nation Face-Off Tournament. Of course, this is our first international hockey event involving NHL players since the World Cup of Hockey that took place in Toronto in 2016. That's a long time. That's 9 years. Way too long. And hopefully everything goes forward the way it's supposed to here, and we'll have regular best-on-best international hockey moving forward on a fairly regular basis. Now, this tournament's not going to really feel like a true best-on-best tournament, given that it's only four nations. Although all four nations will be strong, it is missing some countries that, typically do have good athletes, good teams, and certainly put up a good fight, and, even have won in the past. I mean, obviously it's missing Czechia, it's missing Russia and Slovakia. Germany would be a good team, and others too. So hopefully moving forward, they can come up with a new format more comparable to a World Cup to get more nations involved. But for right now, this is kind of like a four-nation preview. Of course, we've got the Olympics coming up just next year in 2026 as well, and a lot of these players are representing their countries at the pro level for the first time, and are certainly not only trying to win, but are auditioning for Olympic spots here as well. So let's take a look first at the schedule. Of course, everybody knows, I think, the four nations. In case you don't, it's Canada, USA, Sweden, and Finland. The schedule is as follows. The tournament starts with the first games being held in Montreal. The 12th, Wednesday, has Canada against Sweden to kick off the tournament. That game takes place at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. The next day, on Thursday, the 13th, we have Finland versus USA, again in Montreal, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Then we move to Saturday, where we have a doubleheader. Both games, of course, again in Montreal. Sweden versus Finland, which is the earlier game at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, which makes sense because with the time difference between North America and Europe, that allows the European countries in Sweden and Finland to kind of watch this at more of a prime time of day. And then you get Canada versus USA Saturday night, 8 o'clock Eastern Time as well. So I know people in North America very much looking forward to that. And of course, from there, the tournament shifts down into the U.S., into Boston, where the rest of the tournament will take place. On Monday, the 17th, we have Canada against Finland, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. And then we have Sweden versus USA, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Now, for those in Canada, in case you're not looking at a calendar or what have you, yes, it's a Monday, and yes, it's the games in the middle of the afternoon, but I know in all, if not most of Canada, it is a holiday. It is Family Day where I live in New Brunswick, and I believe that holiday or some version of that is recognized, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in all provinces. So the championship then moves to Thursday, February the 20th, again, and in Boston at the TD Garden. The championship will be at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Of course, to determine who's in the championship game, it's going to be the top two teams. Now, this is taking the international format of 3-2-1, so 3 points for a regulation win, 2 points for an overtime win, 1 point for an overtime loss. And of course, if you lose in regulation, you get 0 points. Of course, from there is going to be a series of tiebreakers, although the one difference is that during the round robin portion of the tournament, I believe it's a 10-minute overtime if a game goes to overtime, whereas the championship game will be normal NHL playoff version of overtime. So it'll be continuous, of course, until we have a goal to settle and determine a champion. Of course, there is a trophy as well for the winning team, and they will also receive gold medals. Now, looking at the four nations and looking at their rosters, we had a pretty good idea. Now, of course, these are just based on what we've seen during their first couple of skates. Teams had a chance to get on the ice Monday. I'm recording this video on Tuesday. Most of the skates have already taken place on Tuesday as well as I do this, so we kind of are just going by what has kind of looked like in practice. These lines could, of course, change a little bit, and in some cases, a few players may have been missing if they're, a few of them have been sick and whatnot. So we'll take that all under consideration. Let's start with Team Finland. The Finns, of course, are going to have a pretty strong team based on what we've seen. Here's how their lineup looks right now. They look like they have a top line of Panther captain Sasha Barkov with Teravainen and Laine on his wings. Line 2 appears to be Sebastian Aho with Arturi Lehkonen and Mikko Rantanen. That would be a really good line as well. The third line for the Finns is centered by Dallas Stars centerman Roope Hintz, flanked by Capo Kakko and Mikhail Granlund. On the fourth line, we have Panther centerman Anton Lundell, flanked by Canadiens forward Yoel Armia and Florida Panther teammate of Lundell, Luostarinen. Erik Haula right now appears to be the 13th forward, but like I said, that could always change. If it doesn't change before the Finns' first game, it could certainly change during the tournament. On the back end, we have D pairs that look to be as follow. Esa Lundell teamed with Olli Mata, Juuso Välimäki with Henri Jokiharju, and Nico Mikkola with Urho Vakanainen. The extra defenseman, the 7th D on this team, Senators youngster Nick Matinpalo, who only has 18 games of NHL experience, but as an older, came over as an older, more mature, mid-20s UFA from Europe, so it's not like he's super inexperienced, just inexperienced at the NHL level. Right now, the power play units for Team Finland appear to be as follows. They appear to have the first power play unit being Barkov with Aho, Rantanen, and Laine, with Välimäki being the power play D quarterback. So again, that has lots of good options there. You've got power play 2 appears to be Roope Hintz with Granlund and Lehkonen, and Teravainen and Lundell as the primary D back there. Now, some teams have opted with a little bit of a different format, which we'll see here as well. Running the PK, looks like they're going to have some combos that likely consist of Lundell and Armia as one of the forward combos, with Barkov and Teravainen being another. Of course, Lundell, Mikkola, Välimäki, and Mata all expected to get time on the PK as well on the back end. And of course, between the pipes, you've got UC Saros and Kevin Lankinen. Now, looking at the team Sweden. Sweden also is going to have a really solid roster here. Now, of course, so we've had some roster replacements as well. Some players were not able to come. I know the Finns had one with Ristolainen pulling out, with Matinpalo getting the call there as well. For Sweden, William Karlsson is unable to attend, being replaced by Rickard Rakell. Now, looking at the Swedish lineup, looks like their forward lines will consist as follows. Elias Pettersson, flanked by Adrian Kempe and Philip Forsberg. That could be a dynamic line. Another line of Mika Zibanejad with Rickard Rakell and William Nylander. And some of these lines, I don't really want to call them lines 1 and 2, etc., because they're all so good that in any given day and game, they could be a first line. They could have multiple first lines. So we're just going to read these lines as is here. And the next line is Joel Eriksson Ek of Minnesota, followed by Lucas Raymond and Jesper Bratt on the wings. Your fourth line, which appears to be your fourth line, which is still a pretty stacked fourth line, is Elias Lindholm of the Bruins with Victor Arvidsson and Gustav Nyquist. Right now, the extra forward for Sweden appears to be Leo Carlsson, but like I said, he could work his way into the lineup as well. The D pairs, as of yesterday, appeared to be Victor Hedman with Jonas Brodin, Rasmus Dahlin and Rasmus Andersson were working as a pair, and Matthias Ekholm and Erik Karlsson was the other pair. Gustav Forsling was absent from that skate, though. And today, it's looking like Forsling is taking the place of Rasmus Andersson, paired with Rasmus Dahlin. So the Dahlin-Forsling looks like it might be a pair with possibly Rasmus Andersson maybe being in that 7 spot. So we'll see. A lot could change again. Their power play unit looks to be as follows. Your top power play unit appears to be Zibanejad, Philip Forsberg, Lucas Raymond, William Nylander, along with Rasmus Dahlin. And then your second unit appears to be Pettersson, Kempe, Rakell, Bratt, and Victor Hedman. So again, some pretty good looking PKs there, power plays there. On the PK, you're going to have a few forward combos like Eriksson and Zibanejad by the looks of things, and Lindholm and Bratt as well. Expecting to see Dahlin, Hedman, Ekholm, even Anderson if he gets in there to be participating on the PK as well. Philip Gustafsson, Linus Ullmark, and Sammy Ersson are your goaltenders. To this point, no team has named a starting goaltender for their first game here. As of yet, all the coaches have said that they've made a decision on who it will be, but have not publicly confirmed. Looking at Team USA, their lineup is as follows. Their forward lines are Jack Eichel with Matthew Tkachuk and Kyle Connor. That looks like a pretty darn good line. Austin Matthews of the Maple Leafs with Jack Hughes and Jake Gensel. Another lethal line there. JT Miller centering Brady Tkachuk and Matt Boldy. Vincent Trocheck centering Dylan Larkin and Brock Nelson, with Chris Kreider of the Rangers right now, based on these skates, appearing to be the 13th forward. So again, like I said, we'll see. That could change. On the back end, the D pairs appear to be Jacob Slavin with Adam Fox, Zach Werenski with Charlie McAvoy, and Noah Hannafin with Brock Faber, with Jake Sanderson right now, who is an injury replacement for Quinn Hughes, looking like the 7th defenseman for the moment at least. Their first power play unit appears to be set up as Matthews, Jack Hughes, Matthew Tkachuk, Jack Eichel, and Adam Fox. That very well could be a lethal unit. The second power play unit appears to be Kyle Connor with Jake Gensel, Brady Tkachuk, Matt Boldy, and Zach Werenski. Again, when you got guys like, Kyle Connor, Jake Gensel, Brady Tkachuk on your second power play unit, you know that you're a pretty stacked team. The PK units for the forwards appear to be a combination of JT Miller and Vinny Trocheck. Dylan Larkin possibly with either Kreider or Nelson. Larkin definitely will see time on the PK. I suspect Trocheck definitely will as well. I do wonder about JT Miller, though. I know in the past with Vancouver, before the trade at least, he wasn't exactly known as the defensive type of player, so I'm not sure if that'll change, but something to watch for. Slavin and Hannafin and Faber and McAvoy definitely would expect to all see time on the PK. For the D-core, Connor Hellebuyck most likely is your starting goaltender. He's been the best out of the bunch. Of course, Jake Ottinger and Jeremy Swayman are likely going to be 2 and 3. We'll see. They don't have really any bad options there. All three are very, very capable, but no doubt Hellebuyck has had the strongest stats over the past few years. Now, Team Canada, also very stacked team as well. Their lineup appears to be for the forward group as follows. You have a lineup of Connor McDavid with Sam Reinhart and Mitch Marner. That could be a very interesting line, with Coach John Cooper saying you have a combination of speed, incredible skill with playmaking, and incredible smarts with Rhino. So it could be a very, very intriguing line. But again, whoever meshes together the quickest is probably going to have the most success here. Not to say that some of these lineups couldn't all be phenomenal, but who gets there the fastest is going to be probably end up who wins the tournament. The next line is Sidney Crosby with Nathan McKinnon and Mark Stone. So the two Nova Scotia first overall picks and great friends are going to be playing on the line together to at least start the tournament. I think Mark Stone complements them extremely well. Of course, like I said, with Crosby, McKinnon, Stone, they all bring something different to that line, and it should, in theory, at least gel together. Braden Point with Brad Marchand and Seth Jarvis. That could be an interesting line here as well. Anthony Cirelli, Brandon Hagel, and Sam Bennett appear to be the fourth line for right now. Travis Konechny is likely going to fit in here in some capacity, but he was sick to start the skates and the practicing. So at this point, haven't seen him do line rushes or where he could fit. So, it might be interesting to see if Konechny goes in, if anybody else comes out. I would suspect that maybe he swaps with Bennett. I'm not sure, or they leave Bennett and Konechny's the 13th guy. Either way, Konechny and Bennett probably are, probably play the most similar type of game amongst the guys they have there. So I'm not sure how they're going to handle that, but be curious to see where they feel Konechny fits after he's better and returns from illness. On the back end, you've got, of course, one of the top pairs in the NHL, Devon Taves, Cale Makar, Shea Theodore paired with Drew Doughty. Josh Morrissey of the Jets with Blues defenseman Colton Parayko. And right now, Travis Sanheim of the Flyers appears to be in the 7th spot. Your first power play, which is going to, again, like a lot of these teams, be very lethal, at least projects to be, has Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, and Sidney Crosby all out there with Sam Reinhart and Cale Makar. That could be absolutely, like, you would think that they did connect every time. Of course, I'm sure they won't, but it's just, what a crazy thought. The second power play unit is Braden Point, Mitch Marner, Mark Stone, with 2 defensemen out there, Josh Morrissey and Shea Theodore. On the PK, you've got Sorelli and Hagel appear to be working together, with Jarvis and possibly Marner being a tandem here as well, with Devon Taves, Colton Parayko, Drew Doughty, all expected to see time killing penalties. Between the pipes, you've got Golden Knights goalie Aiden Hill, Blues goaltender Jordan Binnington, and Montreal Canadiens netminder Samuel Montembeault. It's expected that Hill and Binnington are likely your 1-2. I'm not sure who's going to get the start or if they're going to run with one guy. Of course, there's always a possibility of a bad game or somebody, not being able to continue. So hard to say how this goes, but most people have it pegged as Hill 1, Binnington 2, Montembeault 3. But again, we'll see what the coaches think and how things play out. The one difference with Canada's second power play unit is that they have 2D out there, which is not very common. But of course, they have lots of defensemen that are very capable offensively as well, which might be why they're comfortable doing that. Not to say that other countries don't, because they certainly do. You got a guy like Erik Karlsson in Sweden who wasn't practicing on the power play. The U.S. certainly has that capability as well. So hard to say how things are going to go. Just notice some difference there in structure. So again, should be a fun tournament. I know, depending on everybody's feelings of it, I expect this is to be an intense tournament. They're certainly going to be pushing hard. It's not going to be an all-star game. Like I said, they want to win their first tournament of this type of caliber in 9 years. And at the same time, for a lot of these players that are maybe in a situation for the first time, they'd love to be able to go represent their country at the 2026 Olympics, and are certainly looking at this as an audition to do so. So let me know your thoughts on the 4 teams, how it all stacks up here. Who do you think is going to win? What are you most looking forward to? And we'll discuss further down in the comment section. Of course, I will be covering the tournament here as well, so certainly look forward to some more recaps, commentary, and opinions on how things have gone once the games start tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.